Second, as I try to get the stream shared, and then we'll start talking about some football. Um, with the box. That's our show name. I will be taking a couple sips off of this pop though.
No worries, dude.
And then okay, I'm posting it on my Facebook right now, and then we will be good to go. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's talk about some football. We have two viewers at the moment. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Excuse me if I look a little disheveled. Just got home, ran downstairs, turned on the computer, fired up the stream, and now we're here to talk about that Vikings game. As always, welcome in to Load the Box. I am your host, Jordan Hawthorne. I'm joined, as always, by the marvelous, the wonderful, the awesome Jack Day. Jack, go ahead and very quickly, we're going to try and keep this stream kind of short. Quickly, give me a recap of the game, man. What'd you see? What'd you like? What maybe did you not like?
I think it can be explained with using one name, Delvin Cook. Delvin Cook was fantastic today. He's been fantastic, really. I think it was Andrew Kramer of the Star Tribune had a tweet today essentially saying it was just his last four stat lines for his last four actually complete games. Obviously, he had the injury. But Delvin Cook is currently leading the NFL in rushing. There are still a couple teams, I believe, that haven't had their bye yet. NT missed a full game as well. And he is the league's leading rusher. He passed Derrick Henry today. And it's truly amazing. I think if I'm remembering correctly, the stat line was 206 yards and two touchdowns today. And then I think he had two catches for 46 yards as well.
Yeah, at one
I
point
actually
he was sitting at a buck 90 with 10 minutes to go in the game, and I was saying like, could you imagine we get a 3-and-out, we force him to punt, they pin us at like the 10, and he breaks a 90-yarder, and then wouldn't it be awesome? Because I think the last time the Vikings played Adrian Peterson, Dalvin broke his debut record that Adrian had for the Vikings, and could you imagine if Dalvin would have broken gotten to 297 today and broken that record too? But they pulled him out of the game because he's prone to missing time.
Yeah, I said that exact same thing to my dad. My dad and I we were at that game for 296, which was a super cool experience, obviously. I can't remember the name of the player. It might have been Cromartie. There was a player on the Chargers that also broke a record for the longest kick return in NFL history. His heel was literally like centimeters away from the end. But yeah, watching Delvin Cook, there's been this comparison between Delvin Cook and Adrian Peterson, two completely different styles. Adrian Peterson's the first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Delvin Cook's not there yet, but I do believe that Delvin Cook, I mean, he brings more tangibles to the table. He can catch the ball to the backfield, which we saw Detroit doing with Adrian Peterson a few times today, which was a little bit interesting because the Vikings never utilized him in that way. But I had to get this article that I just wrote, my game recap up. I had a couple stats. Over the last 2 weeks, Cook has totaled 478 all-purpose yards while finding the end zone 6 times. And NFL 345 tweeted out with his first quarter touchdown run from today, Delvin Cook was the sixth player in NFL history and the first since Emmitt Smith in 1994 with a rushing touchdown in each of his first 7 games of a season. That stat kind of jumped out to me. I mean, anytime you're getting compared to Emmitt Smith, who has all of these records in terms of running back, like rushing yards and stuff like that, that's good company to be in. And Delvin Cook has earned that. I think he's earned from this game. This might sound like it's more of a Delvin Cook show rather than a Minnesota Vikings podcast, but Delvin Cook has earned the right not only to be in the running for the best running back in the NFL, but I think today Delvin Cook has kind of quietly inserted his name into the MVP conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a very. I heard a couple people tossing around Cook should be considered after last week with the 4 touchdowns. This week, I think, he goes for over 200 yards. Last week, I feel like he had a really good day on the ground, but the touchdowns were what jumped out to you. It was like, holy cow, 4 touchdowns. This week, I think he found the end zone twice, but went over 200 yards, which anytime you do that, you're going to catch some eyes. I don't think this is sustainable. I think we see this hot streak come to an end on Monday night. We will talk about that later in the week. But, I'm enjoying what Dalvin's been doing. They're letting him cook, pun intended. And just an amazing win for the Vikings today. We will get into game balls, and I'll actually go ahead and kind of spoil my offensive game ball. It's going to go to Ezra Cleveland, who is just a microcosm of the entire offensive line. One sack on Cousins today. It came on a play action when they had a defensive back blitz called. Kind of what are you going to do in that situation? But other than that, Cousins didn't seem to be running for his life all day. Had time to throw, had time to find guys down the field. Big day for Irv Smith Jr., by the way, who really just, killing it this year in every sense of the word. But Ezra Cleveland, and I just want to point out one play. I don't have the film brought up. We're not going to get that, production value if you will. But on Dalvin's 70-yard touchdown run, Dalvin was pretty much head on with, I think it was a safety for the Lions, and the safety was on the left hash, and Ezra Cleveland just came hauling to the second level from, the right side of the line, and took that safety out of the play. Dalvin, then it turned into a foot race. So I will be giving my game ball to Ezra Cleveland. But really, I think the story of today's game was the Lions shot themselves in the foot. The Vikings defense, while it has been shaky all year, they did capitalize when they needed to. Eric Wilson, my God, have a day. I think the Vikings have 8 turnovers on the year. Eric Wilson is responsible for 5 of them. He is right now, I think he's playing incredible football. Love seeing what he's doing, but the Vikings defense able to capitalize on the Lions' mistakes, and the Vikings offensive line back-to-back weeks able to just dominate, enforce their will, push the line of scrimmage, and get Dalvin going for big games. Cousins just managing at this point. Cousins is not doing anything special. He's not. I don't foresee him at any point this season having the big, 425 5-touchdown days that we might want out of the very expensive quarterback that he is. But if we're winning games, we're winning games. I don't care who's making what money. If you win, you win. That's all. That's all I care about. So, Jack, I'll let you go ahead and get into your game balls. I know you, of course, because you're starting to get a big head. I know you want to gloat, so I'll go ahead. I'll pass the floor off to you. And Tom Day is in the chat at the moment, and I forgot to call you out. That was the Tom Day offensive line appreciation spiel of the week, as Tom Day just points out that Ezra Cleveland wins the Tom Day Offensive Lineman Award. So congratulations, Ezra. Your trophy should be in the mail. But Jack, who you giving your game ball to? Go ahead, get a big head, inflate that ego, man.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the second week in the row where I've predicted something, and I feel like I have to almost gloat a little bit just because I never actually predict anything right. At one point, I was telling my dad, like, yeah, I predicted the score to be 27-16, and like it was close to that too. So I was getting maybe that was the Vikings slapping me in the face and say, hey, you know what? Stop being optimistic. Stop all of this stuff. Go back to what you were. But no, back-to-back weeks, I've kind of predicted something, but at the end of the day, there's a performance that overshadows the performance of who I picked. And I think that on our show on Wednesday night, I picked Irv Smith Jr. for the game ball, and I said, I think Irv Smith finds the end zone for the first time this year. He did that twice today, so don't feel bad about my pick, but I just can't go to anyone besides Dalvin Cook because I've realized now, I was kind of 50-50 in that committee. Do we pay Dalvin Cook or do we not pay Dalvin Cook? Like, do we pay an injury-prone running back? The Vikings did the right thing in paying Dalvin Cook. We saw it today. We saw it last week. If Dalvin Cook can stay healthy and he keeps playing like this offense is going to be very scary for many years to come. Dalvin Cook is not old. We have a 21-year-old Justin Jefferson. I think Irv Smith Jr. is 22 years old. This offense has a lot of people, not to mention the offensive line has a lot of young pieces along it as well. But this offense moving forward is going to be scary, and we have seen the difference that makes having Dalvin Cook on the field. Switching over to the defensive side of the ball, I have to agree with what you were saying. I don't know if you came out and straight up said this, but you have to give the defensive game ball today to Eric Wilson. He balled out. He had, I think it was the first interception. He was in on one of the sacks. Having said that, I just want to say, too, the Vikings are they're hurting in a lot of areas, but they have some players that are just absolutely balling out. Obviously, Dalvin Cook is one of them. Dalvin Cook is, I think, in my opinion, securing that all-pro honors at the running back position. I think he has been the best running back in the NFL this year. And you switch over to the other side of the ball, I think we are bound to see Eric Kendricks as an all-pro again. Eric Kendricks is also balling out. We saw it in coverage. He had one of the picks as well. I think Harrison Smith had the third one today, but Eric Kendricks had the other one. And just kind of finishing my thoughts on the defense side of the ball, this is kind of towards the bottom of my game recap. The Vikings starting cornerbacks today, the only cornerbacks they had that were on the team throughout camp were Chris Boyd and Jeff Gladney. Granted, they're going to get burnt. I know they had a couple plays where Danny Amendola was making them look silly, but watching Jeff Gladney, I think if I'm remembering correctly, I can get the box score pulled up. I think Chris Boyd led the team in tackles.
Yeah, I'm 99%.
Or Eric Wilson did. Eric Wilson did. Sorry, our defensive game ball went to Eric Wilson. Also led the team in tackles, had half a sack, had the interception as well. But Chris Boyd had 11 tackles, and then it was Harrison Smith with 10, and Jeff Gladney with 7. And I brought the comparison up with Jeff Gladney. I know there's a lot of people out there that want to see him take that next step in coverage. He's going to get there. Trust me, he's going to get there. He's working with Mike Zimmer. You cannot teach what he brings in run support. Jeff Gladney looks like Antoine Winfield Sr. in run support, and that has me excited. You see him diving at the legs, taking people out low, which you're taught from a young age. And also, if he has to hit someone up high, he is not afraid to pop them in the chest either. Jeff Gladney is not playing the best football. Like I said, he's been shaky in coverage. That will turn around, and Jeff Gladney, I think we're starting to see more and more of our I almost said QB1, our CB1 of the future.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I kind of was a little disheartened in the victory today, and not just because we had 2 blocked punts, but correction, we had our punts blocked twice. We didn't block 2 punts. Our special teams needs a complete overhaul, it looks like, but I was a little disheartened because it felt like the Lions were handing out, interceptions like Oprah Winfrey hands out Cadillacs, and it would have been nice. I predicted last week Jeff Gladney gonna get a pick, gonna get his first career interception, gonna ball out. Would have been nice if he could have got one. Whatever. He jumped out at one point and got his hand on a ball, and I immediately was like, "He's gonna pick 6 it!" And I got all excited. He didn't. He just broke up the pass. But I think Gladney is starting to get more steady. I will, because we try to give different game balls. Eric Kendricks is definitely a guy that you could give it to. DJ Wanham had a couple pressures, which I don't think he was playing the entire game, but nice to see him, year one, not necessarily such a huge, we weren't expecting to see him do anything at all, and to see him chasing Matt Stafford out of the pocket was kind of cool to see out of a late round pick or a mid round pick like that. I'm gonna give my game ball to Mike Zimmer for the defense.
I like that.
My God, I'll say me mostly. I took dumps on Mike Zimmer all over. Just all off, or not off season, all beginning of the season, if you will. Very just upset with the way the team looked. The team didn't seem prepared. The defense was awful, and he's a defensive head coach. He had some bad challenges, and I don't know. Again, I'm going to start saying it every week. We forgot this was supposed to be a down season for the Vikings with the overhaul we had on the defense, but the way he is adapting, I think it was a learning curve for him as well, because he's had the same key players on his defense for so long. Now that he has a new set of guys, I think he's starting to coach to their strengths, which is something the Patriots always preach, is like, we'll find a player that can do something, and we'll kind of use them to their strength or whatever, and they're really good at doing that. Mike Zimmer's ability to call, I don't know what he's doing exactly. I'm not a film expert. I'm not anything like that, but Mike Zimmer has done something these last 2 games where his defense still doesn't look elite, still doesn't look like, completely game-changing, but it has me very optimistic that next year we may not have a second-round pick, but we get Michael Pierce to stop the run, Danielle Hunter to rush the passer, and potentially a guy like Sean Wade out of Ohio State or something like that. And that's a whole nother conversation about, will we go cornerback in the first round? What are we going to do? At this point, I don't know. I'm starting to think that taking a project QB looks more and more like an appealing idea. It just can't be Nate Stanley in the 7th. It needs to be a guy more like Jalen Hurts in the 2nd. You know what I mean? But we'll see. There's a lot of season left. I think we have 8 games to go now. My dad is in the chat. Jeff Hawthorne. Young guys are buying in and are playing so much better. Dad, Jeff, whatever I have to call you. I don't know what the professional way to do this is. I agree. I think Zimmo is coaching to their strengths. I don't think Zimmo has been pleasant at all. I don't care how many games we win. I think he's going to be a grouchy old man for a while. Because I think he's going to have to, get the best out of these guys and really, tone this team back into a run game dominant defense, and I think we're starting to slowly see that happen. So that's kind of the breakdown for me. My game balls go to Ezra Cleveland / the offensive line. Shout out Tom Day. And on the defensive side of the ball, Mike Zimmo, do a damn job. Show this fan base why you are what you are. Now the issue is we haven't beat Chicago in 2 years. It's time to go do that too. So let's see what happens, but that's a show for another day this week. Jack, I saw you gearing up to say something there right before. Cousins QB rating in the last 2 weeks is 141 and 138.1. Full total touchdowns, no picks. That is Tom Day. Jack, I will let you address that because I know you're pessimistic, Jack, and you hate Cousins' guts. So I'll let you.
Not hate
I'll let you address that.
Yeah, and I had this conversation with my dad when we were watching today. I think a lot of those throws today, I think there's a lot of people in this world that could make those throws, not just NFL quarterbacks. I think there's college quarterbacks. I think there's some people in street clothes that could make some of those throws. I mean, the Amir Abdullah, Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. He makes some very good throws. There were also some deep shots where he overthrew a couple guys. That's going to happen with anyone. But I just wanted to jump in when you were talking about you giving your game ball to Mike Zimmer because you said Daniil Hunter and Michael Pierce not along our defensive line. The Vikings just beat a Detroit Lions team that they were I think they were 3-4 before the game. Yeah. The Vikings were the worst team in the NFC North before this game. I think they would obviously bump them over them now because they should have a better divisional record and they have the head-to-head now. But that's without mentioning we don't have Mike Hughes. We didn't have Cameron Dancer. You didn't have Holton Hill. You didn't have Anthony Barr. Yannick Ngakoue is all but gone now as well and in a Baltimore Ravens jersey. That's 5 more people that you can throw into that list that Mike Zimmer did not have today. He is doing this with a defensive line that, I mean, there's some talent along that defensive line, but with Jaleel Johnson and Shamar Stephen, they're guys that we've been hoping they're going to step up and take that next step. Not so much in Stephen because we kind of know what we got in him, but we've been hoping for Jaleel Johnson to make this step. He was a 4th-round pick out of Iowa, and we've been hoping for him to take that next step. I think getting Michael Pierce back is going to help. Getting Daniil Hunter back is going to help a ton too. There's both sides of the ball has a lot of reasons to be optimistic moving forward. And like you said, don't look now. If the Vikings can win in Chicago, which it's a Monday night game, all you conspiracy theorists out there, it's a Monday night game under the lights. On real grass. It's in Chicago. Whatever there
all
is.
The narratives
Kirk Cousins prime time. Throw that in there too.
I think Cousins. Not to cut you off. 99% sure Cousins has still never won a Monday Night Football game.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I don't have that up, but it's weird. A lot of people throw the word cursed around, but if you pull that schedule up, if the Vikings can find a way to beat not a very good Chicago Bears team. I know their defense is good, but their offense is struggling to score the football. You beat Chicago, then you have Dallas, who played the Steelers tough today, but they are what they are. They don't have Dak, obviously. Then we have Teddy Bridgewater and the Carolina Panthers coming, which before today looked like that could be a winnable game. It still does look winnable. However, they played the Chiefs fairly well today. But then you have the Jags as well after that for a December 6th game, first game in December. Those are 4 winnable games. If the Vikings can go into Tampa Bay at 7-5, watch out because anything can happen. We've seen teams like the Giants. We've seen teams like the Steelers where they kind of come out of nowhere and they heat up at the right time. I don't have faith that that's going to happen because, like I said this earlier today, I just don't see it happening with the defensive talent that we have right now. I think Zimmer can get them to rally and kind of win or string some wins together. But when you're playing back to back to back to back, and you'd have to go up against Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and so on, quarterbacks that have been to the playoffs, they are winners. It's going to be a lot tougher. So the schedule gets easier now. I think there's a legitimate chance the Vikings can string some together. I want to say I just saw the line came out, and the Vikings are actually favored by 2.5 in Chicago, which surprised me a little bit. But that is kind of my final thoughts on today. Like I said, the only name I really have to throw out there is Dalvin Cook, because honestly, it was the Dalvin Cook show, and it's going to be a fun ride moving forward. Now, there's a lot of different ways this season can go, so just buckle up and enjoy the ride.
I will leave with this. This will be my final thoughts. Um, I want to see just give us Brian O'Neill and Khalil Mack, you cowards. We get it. Khalil Mack can beat the crap out of Riley Reef and can throw him around like a rag doll. Just let us have fun, all right, Chicago. You're gonna beat us. Let's be honest. Like let's just have some fun with it and let our good guy go against your good guy. Riley Reef is having a good year. That's gonna be a fun matchup to go into. We will talk about that later this week. And possibly, I guess I'll start teasing now. This teaser is brought to you by Manscaped, by the way. Use code LOADTHEBOX. Go ahead and get yourself 20% off. Use code MANSCAPEDPOD. You can go ahead and get free shipping. So that's 20% with Load the Box code. Manscaped pod code gets you free shipping. That's a lot of savings. It's almost Thanksgiving, guys, which means Christmas is right around the corner. You might as well go ahead and get a great stocking stuffer for your boyfriend, husband, dad, grandpa, whatever. But this teaser, big news potentially coming out of Load the Box in the coming days. I think you're definitely going to want to, if you're watching now, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. If I just have to say, clear your Wednesday night schedule. Something big might be coming from Load the Box, something very exciting. And if what we think is going to happen happens, we think we're going to have a hell of a show for you on Wednesday night. I mean, just probably the best Load the Box ever. You know, there's been some good ones, but I think this will be the tops for us. Something me and Jack are both really excited about. Not gonna name drop anybody. Not gonna drop too many hints. Jack, I will let you drop as many hints as you feel necessary. But other than that, thank you guys for tuning in. Kirk Cousins is still a bum. This is Dalvin Cook's team. Dalvin for MVP. I think he's 500-1 right now, so that's some pretty good odds right there. And you know, again, just thank you guys so much for watching. Jack, I will allow you to lead us out.
Yeah, like Jordan said, there's a potential. I'll just say a potential big guest could be coming on the show this week. I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to give any sorts of hints. If you aren't already, make sure you're following us on Twitter at LTB Vikings. You can follow myself at Jack_H_day and follow Jordan at JHawthorne16. Because of this, if this happens, I promise you all three of those Twitter feeds are going to be blowing up because Jordan, myself, and our Load the Box Twitter page is going to be jacked up. I can promise you that. We're going to be excited. It's huge news. If this happens, like Jordan said, make sure your schedule is cleared for Wednesday night. It could be a little bit later of a show, but clear your schedule because if this happens, it is going to be one of the best shows that we've done, and we are very excited about it. So we should know a little bit more earlier this week. Once we find out, we will tweet it out. So make sure you're following us at LTB Vikings. Final thoughts on today's game. Like I said, I've said it the entire show. It was the Dalvin Cook show. They let Dalvin Cook, pun intended that time. I didn't say that the pun wasn't intended. I did do it on purpose this time. Dalvin Cook is a beast. Anthony Harris said it best in that Vikings tunnel camera when they all walk up after the games. He just yelled, Dalvin Cook for MVP into the mic. That's all I had to say after this game. Dalvin Cook dominated. Vikings have an easier road the upcoming weeks. The play